The next thing we want to do is make an enemy, someone for us to play against, someone to go up and down on the right side of the screen. So we're going to do like we did before and just draw our enemy object as a rectangle for now. We'll change this object later. I'll go ahead and select that object. I'm going to group him together. And then I'm going to change him to a symbol. I'm going to convert him to a movie clip, and I'm going to call him a class called enemy. I'm going to export for ActionScript. I'm going to press OK. I can delete him from the stage. He's in my library. I'll go back to my code in my S file. I'll go ahead and make an instance variable for my enemy object. I'll call him enemy and have him be of class type enemy. I'll declare him as an instance variable, and then in my constructor I'll go ahead and construct my enemy object. So I'll say enemy, then use the new operator, and then call the enemy constructor. I'll go ahead and change the X and Y values of my enemy object. I'll change it to stage.stageWidth minus my enemy.width divided by 2. And then I'll change my enemy's Y value to something appropriate. Let's call it 220. You can go ahead and change that number later. Then I'll go ahead and add my enemy to the screen. I'll save my file. And now I have my enemy object on the right side of my screen. Of course, now I got to uncomment that code so when the ball hits it, it will recognize that hit. So in my code, inside of that ball movement function, there was a part of my code that we commented out. And in this if statement, we check if the ball hits our enemy object. And if the ball hits our enemy object, so we uncomment our code, we save him, and we test him. So when the ball hits our enemy object, the if statement becomes true and our ball changes directions. Now it's no fun just playing against a solid wall. We'll want our enemy object to be able to move on its own. So let's add a little bit of artificial intelligence. So the first thing we're going to add is an event listener that's going to listen for that enter frame event. The same enter frame event that we have here. We'll go ahead and listen for the enter frame event, and we'll call this function called AI movement. We're going to go ahead and put the AI movement function at the end of our class, but before the curly bracket that ends our class and after the curly bracket that ended our last function. So we're going to have a public function called AI movement. This AI movement function is going to take in one parameter of type event, because that's what these functions need to take in order to be an event function. It has a return type of void. Here's the beginning of our function, and here's the end of our function. Inside of our function, we have an if statement that checks the ball's Y value to see if it's greater than the enemy's Y value. And if so, what that means is if the ball's Y value is greater than the enemy's Y value, so if the ball is here and the enemy is here, its Y value is greater than the enemy's Y value, then we'll tell our enemy to move down, increase his Y value. So we increase his Y value by 6 pixels. If the ball's Y value is less than the enemy's Y value, meaning that the ball is up here, we'll make the enemy move up or subtract from his y value. He's moving up towards 0. So he'll subtract 6 pixels. We'll go ahead and we'll save our code now. We see the ball move toward our player. And now our enemy is an active enemy, and according to where the ball is how our enemy is moving. Our enemy now moves downward when the y's value is greater than his y value, and he moves upward when the ball's y value is smaller than his y value. Next thing we want to do is make it so when the ball goes off the screen, we give whoever side a point and we keep score.